I'm not a religious person, but I love religious themes in all media, especially in video games. The closest thing to religious iconography is having an elder sign based on H.P. Lovecraft's stories. I know this is a stretch. There is untapped potential in using religion, especially in horror or not video game form. Outlast 2, Indica, Fate the Unholy Trinity and Blasphemous come to mind. And let's not forget the SMT games. To my surprise, the developer of Villa do Nevoeiro, on which I made the long form video, so feel free to check it out, shared in my comment section he's making a new game with some religious themes and offered me a free copy. After seeing the trailer, I was eager to check his next game. With that in mind, this is my opinion and it was not influenced in any way. With that out of the way, let's dive in Bad Religion Chapter 1 Origin of Evil. You play as Christian, kind of on the nose, a 16-year-old orphan who, after staying in a couple of orphanages, was moved to St. Camillo's Home for Boys, or St. Camillo's Boarding School as it's in-game, by Alice, the social worker assigned to him. The place is run by a local religion. Alice is convinced that these people can help him. Just before she drops him off, Christian says this.
Naquele lugar eu conheceria Charles, que agora atendia por outro nome. Na verdade, eu já o conhecia há muito tempo.
I'm specifically mentioning this to emphasize that this is just chapter 1 and the story is not finished. However, the game has a lot of potential despite being rough around the edges.
Quando eu era criança, havia uma casa e um porto seguro. Mas o lobo veio e soprou e não restou mais nada. Então eu acabei ficando sozinho com o lobo. Ele pegou um livro que estava em seu bolso e contou algumas histórias. Lembro dele dizer: não se entristeça em seu coração, acredite em mim. Na casa de meu pai há muitas moradas. Se isso não fosse verdade, eu jamais teria dito: tem um lugar para você.
Christian is left to climb the hill to the school and immediately after entering, he is greeted by Alvaro. He's something like a receptionist. It's never actually specified. Both chatted for a bit and Alvaro says Christian will be alone for the weekend because the other kids are out camping. After finishing the game, I'm not entirely sure this is true. Alvaro mentions an internship that could help with the protagonist's problems. Christian heads up to his room and from here the game properly starts. The story revolves around what is happening in the school. Right off the bat, two things are clear. First, Christian hears a voice in his head tormenting and asking to embrace him.
Christian, por que ainda foge de mim? Fazendo de conta que eu não existo. Você sabe que eu posso tornar as coisas mais fáceis. É só me aceitar.
Does he have mental health issues or is something sinister trying to take over? There is a hint at what others think about it very early on, before you read it in a note, but it's mentioned that he has a mental health issues, or at least that's what the doctors think. Is it though? And second, there is something seriously wrong with this place. Most of the backstory is revealed through notes left in scattered books, which are essential for understanding the machination of this place. There is no NPCs to interact with, providing exposition or information. You hear only Christian thoughts and narration, and the demonic or not presence inside him. You do feel alone against your own demons and whatever is happening at the boarding school. I don't want to go into more details because I don't want to spoil anything and I want you to experience it, but I can assure you things go dark and at some point disgusting. One of the best parts of the game is the atmosphere. There is barely any music besides some ambient track playing in the background, making you uneasy and on the edge. You hear mostly your own footsteps echoing through the halls and rooms and it can make you feel vulnerable, peeking at every corner. What ruins it a bit is the tune that plays when you get closer to enemies. Although I initially liked it, it soon dawned on me that it tips you off where the enemies are and ruins the tension the game was building. It would be more effective if it didn't play at all, making you paranoid while exploring. There is a section later in the game where your visibility is limited and it will greatly benefit from not announcing the enemies. Initially I thought the game was going to be more of a hide and seek full of jump scares. However, this couldn't be further from the truth. There is only one jump scare and most of the gameplay revolves around solving puzzles and some action. Before getting into details, I have to start this session with some negatives. For the first hour or so, my game was bugged and I didn't even notice it. I was getting frustrated because I was stuck despite knowing what to do. I started looking at the controls and the list was empty. I found it very weird, but I continued. You can pick up items and spin to look at them. The game is supposed to show on-screen prompts for different actions, and this was missing entirely. After another bug where I had to save and load the game, everything started displaying as it's supposed to be. The second bug softlocked the game. You need to open a box with a dial padlock. However, as soon as I put in the code and clicked again, the padlock didn't disappear as it should. Instead, it stayed on the box unlocked and I couldn't open it. Loading a save file fixed all the issues. At the beginning, there is almost no action. The game lets you soak the atmosphere and introduce you to the setting and mechanics. Gameplay revolves around exploring and solving puzzles. There is a certain uncertainty in the initial minutes of the game in terms of when things will hit the fan. Once you pick up the axe, everything turns from mildly uncomfortable to creepy and dangerous. Alvaro disappears and weird crystals are on his chair like they grew out of it. Red glowing light surrounds the desk area. Early 20th century music is playing from the radio. Christian goes to the upper floor where the rooms are. Electricity sparks from the light in his room, but once he gets to the library, we are introduced to the first enemy, priest with gas mask. The model is a good way of saving time and money for different models, and narratively fits quite well. On the other side, you fight the same enemy over and over again. It can get boring. To be honest, you are not constantly in danger from them. The game has a nice balance between action and exploration. Once you make progress, the game might spawn some additional enemies. The combat is rather simplistic. You just swing the axe. There isn't anything special, you can't even block. The only way to protect yourself is to aim for the head. It just kills them faster. If you miss the swing by not judging the distance correctly, it allows them to attack you. Either way, every hit they receive staggers them, so you'd better not miss. I think the combat is missing something that makes it more impactful. Better animation, better reaction from the enemy, etc. As it stands right now, it's okay. It does the job. There is another weapon, a pistol, which you can use. I didn't find it. I collected a lot of ammo throughout the game, but never managed to use it. I think it's behind a puzzle, because there is one I couldn't solve, or I just missed it in the clutter. There is a lot of stuff scattered around, and I might have missed it. Still, it didn't make it less entertaining for me. I was having fun axing masked priests, and it felt natural using only a melee weapon. When you're not bashing the priest, you spend the time exploring and solving puzzles. The puzzles are not very difficult, but offer a nice diversity. They primarily rely on finding a specific number to unlock a padlock and/or key to progress. There is also randomly pressing hidden buttons. Initially, I found it odd what those buttons do, but exploring the environment often reveals items that are clearly used for some purpose, moving things forward, and the button makes them useful. At the later part of the game, it might require a bit of backtracking, but thankfully the levels are not that big, and it's easy to remember what stopped you previously. Some of the puzzles, like the padlocks, can be brute forced, but if you pay enough attention to the surroundings, you'll find clues on how to solve them faster. I wish the puzzles fit more into the game's context, as they feel somewhat out of place. This is a take it or leave it situation. I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't dislike them for that, but I would prefer them to blend in more with the world. Think of the enemies, they fit rather well in this world. Exploration is a big part of the gameplay and it's well worth it. Besides looking for clues and items for progression, you'll find all sorts of goodies. Bullets, bananas for healing, more of the backstory, backpacks that will increase your inventory space, and healing herbs. There is a light crafting. You can find 2 different herbs that when consumed help restore part of your health, but if you combine them to make a liquid, it can bring you up to 100%. That's the extent of the crafting. Unless you get hit way too often, it's better to combine them for maximum efficiency. You'll find other items like bananas that heal only 10 health points, but at least you don't have to waste a whole bottle of healing liquid. Christian can carry a certain number of items, but if the inventory is full, you have to travel to find a duffel bag to store your items. Initially it's in your bedroom, but as you progress, you find it in other places. If you manage to find a backpack, it will increase your inventory by 1 space. Another reason to explore every corner of the maps. The crafting and storing of the items is a nice addition to the gameplay, which I like. The plants, liquids and bananas are the only way you can restore health, and since they are scarce, some item management is involved, and you better be making all those hits or you'll have bad time. Enemies are two variations of the same entity, a man with a mask and a woman with a mask. The only difference is that the woman runs much faster, though they are susceptible to an axe to the head too. They are just fine. As I said, I wish their presence wasn't announced by the music. There are two more, but I'd rather keep the surprise of their reveal intact. Their design is way better and way more interesting, and they have one-off appearance which makes them memorable, especially the one at the end. I find him very unsettling. Considering everything I said so far, the game is a mixed bag, but I enjoy my time with it. The graphics are nothing to write home about, but I don't mind them. It's a $3 game that probably uses some store-bought assets which I don't care much about. What matters is the end result, and the game is engaging with its story and an atmosphere. It needs some improvement, and the one that I can't overlook is the lack of any audio sliders. I played with headphones and the voice acting was way too low and drowned in the effects surrounding it. The game needs separate volume sliders for music, effects and voice acting. Some of the other issues I have might seem nitpicky, and they probably are, but Chapter 2's gameplay needs improvement. Specifically, it could benefit from more impactful combat, more interesting puzzles, and less reliance on key, number hunting, and pushing random buttons. I know, it's easier said than done. What made me like the game more was the second half. In the first half, you spend most of the time inside the school and the art in front. It's intriguing and fun to explore. Rooms inside have their purpose, like a canteen or classroom. It offers decent variety of locations. But once you venture further from the school, the dev shows his creativity in the level design, more specifically visually, and what I know him from Villa. Disturbing visuals. The later sequences are mostly linear, but this doesn't stop them from being incredibly creepy. It really feels like you are guiding Christian through his personal hell. The story is not finished, as you probably guessed by the title of the game, so don't expect all questions to be answered. I'm looking forward to Chapter 2. I recommend the game, but be aware of its limitations. I could think of worse ways to spend $3.